Hello, welcome to the dressing room. We are streaming live on Facebook. I'm Chris Bell. I'm joined by Mike Thompson, and Kyle Taylor will be along shortly. Fingers crossed. He's just got one or two technical problems. Mike, thanks for joining us tonight on here. The news today: a European Super League has been met with quite a lot of criticism from those in pundit positions and the like. But it seems to be a bit of a mixed bag amongst fans.
Yeah, but I think rightly so from my point of view that the pundits and for those fans that are critics of it, I think it's honestly a horrible idea. I think it's absolutely disgusting that these and I'm talking specifically obviously about the English clubs. It's disgusting that these 6 English clubs have decided to come out at this time, and say, oh, we're going to break out into this closed competition. And it's just as bad really from the other teams within Spain and Italy, but just focusing from an English Premier League view, I think it's an absolute disgrace. And I think that those 6 clubs should be really, really ashamed of themselves. And I totally agree with Gary Neville. For those of you who didn't see it on Sky Sports earlier or haven't caught it on Twitter, who said they need to be severely punished. And that could be anything from fines to docking them points. Completely agree with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just go through actually the sides that it's come out today and been announced that are wanting to be in this breakaway league to start with, at least. So from Spain, you've got Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid. From Italy, you've got Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan. And then from England, Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, and Liverpool. So out of what is usually a case of the Champions League, you get 4 English sides in the Champions League. In this case, you've got 9th placed Arsenal and Spurs currently 5th or 7th at the moment that are wanting to get themselves into this position of mixing it with the big boys.
Yeah, I believe Spurs are 7th, Liverpool 6th. And I think it's just these clubs' idea of, well, we want to be guaranteed this, what they call an elite competition, and guaranteed all the money that comes with it. It's just a money grabbing tool from these clubs. Yeah, you can say that they're struggling with due to the coronavirus and the fact that they've not managed to have all their fans in, but that's every club. That's every club, and it doesn't necessarily affect. And I say it doesn't necessarily. It doesn't affect your Liverpools, your Man United as much as it does your Lincoln Cities, your Rochdales, your Salfords, and then going even further down the pyramid. Your Guisleys, your teams that are in the National League North. Those teams that rely on their fans week in, week out, and they rely on that money. Whereas your Manchester United, your Liverpools, they've got money coming in from massive TV deals. They've got money coming in from other competitions as well as the Premier League. So I think it's just greed.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be the case. That's certainly one view that is going out there. Playing devil's advocate slightly, though, and it'd be great for people to get in touch, actually. Share your comments if you can on Facebook, and we can see them come through, and we can give them a mention as well. Just to see, ultimately, for the 6 English clubs, speaking of the English clubs here, for those to take part in this Super League, they would have to ask permission from the Premier League to say, we want to go and play in this. Now, the likelihood is that the Premier League aren't going to have that. They're not going to be agreeable to this. And then what happens? Do they withdraw from the Premier League and go off and play in that instead? Or they just, well, that's the only other option, isn't it? It's either that or you don't take part in this and you carry on as you are.
Yeah, and I think not just the Premier League. I mean, obviously there's that clause within the Premier League where, they've only got permission to play in certain competitions. Obviously the Champions League, the Europa League are those competitions that are in there, as well as obviously cup competitions domestically. So the Premier League are saying that they won't give permission to do this, but also UEFA and are saying that they'll do everything they can to block teams participating in this competition. So, they're not just going to find that the Premier League are stopping them. They're going to find that UEFA are actually going to stop them from doing it as well. Which is, for me, the right thing to do. But yeah, the only other option from a Premier League point of view would be to leave the Premier League and everything that comes in that, which, to be honest, fine. You know, if you want to participate in that competition, fine. But it would be just that. There'd be no Champions League, there'd be no FA Cup, there'd be no Carabao Cup. It would just be one closed competition with no risk and a reward for one team. And let's be honest, is it going to be different from season to season? I doubt it.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. If they get any of these plans approved, that is, and that is the big if. It's still all very much up in the air. I can now bring in, hopefully, Kyle is ready to join us for this discussion as well, after having worked through technical issues. Kyle, you're a bit distant, but are you there?
Well, sort of. We're working through some Bluetooth issues now.
Yeah, it's not exactly. You're not coming through crystal clear. Let's put it that way. Let's just take Kyle out for a second, and we'll see if we can bring him back in a moment or two.
Poor Kyle.
All the we plan for this stuff, and when it actually comes to it, and we go, it just doesn't quite work at the crucial time. Mike, I'll just come back to you then. Like, what do you think it would mean for the rest of English football then? Simply, if in the hypothetical situation that top those 6 clubs thought, you know what, we're better off going for this European Super League than we are staying in effectively in English football.
I think it depends, to be totally honest with you, Chris. It depends. I think it could go one or two ways. It could either produce better from the clubs that are existing, or it could go the other way. And it depends on the money involved. Like, are Sky suddenly going to say, do you know what, we're no longer going to show games from the Premier League and the Championship, League One. You know, we're just going to show games from the Elite Super League or whatever the hell they want to call it. And if they do that, you know, then the money's going to go out the Premier League, that massive amount of money. And then there's going to be worries over those clubs and whether or not they can carry on paying the wages that they are now. So potentially they might fall in that way, but it could end up leading to, you know, better young players coming through. People are relying more on their academies in that case. Possibly that would be a good thing.
It's certainly one of those situations where, Kyle, I don't know if you're back with us and you can hear us nice and clearly now, but, you know, you look at the clubs that
Can
would
you
be
hear
left
me?
in.
Am I? What?
You are with us. You're a little bit slow and broken up, but that could just be you, mate.
Always slow and broken up, me. That's got nothing to do with anything other than just being me.
But yeah, you know, there's an opportunity if it were to go ahead that the clubs like your Evertons, Newcastle, for you, Mike, as a Newcastle fan, would be looking at titles rather than staying in the Premier League. Right, maybe not under Mike Ashley, but you can dream.
Yeah, but I can see that we've had a few comments coming in from Facebook, and Harry, I think, has made a really good point there. When you're watching the big Champions League games, your Barcelonas, your PSG, you know, if it's a team you support, it makes it better and more exciting because it doesn't happen all the time. You know, it's something that you really look forward to, those big Champions League nights, you know, the sound of the music coming through when the players come out. It's a really, really special occasion, those midweek night matches against big European teams. And I think if it's just a constant, you know, really, do you want that?
I mean, that's effectively the basic idea, isn't it, Kyle? For them, for these clubs in this European Super League to be playing effectively a Champions League game every game for a 38-game season.
It's not a Champions League game, then, is it?
All right, European Super League game, which is their Champions League.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sums up Kyle's views.
I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I mean, your take on it, Kyle?
I'm going to try and load up on my laptop to get more constant. Well, I'm going to try and load up on my laptop to get a more constant output because
that's
I have words
to
say.
That's a good move.
And quite frankly, I want to make sure they're coming through appropriately before I begin my Gary Neville style rant.
Well, we hope you get yourself sorted, Carl, because
So
I'm looking forward to that when it comes.
Yeah, right. We'll bring you back in shortly. So, as we lose Kyle again, hopefully we'll be back and it will work a treat. But yeah, you know, we are still awaiting as well this letter, Mike, you know, that was supposedly signed by the 6 Premier League clubs, and they were going to bring out a statement basically to say, this is our take on it, this is why we're doing it. Or, as Gary Neville suggested on Super Sunday this afternoon, that actually they might be backtracking somewhat and basically having gauged the opinion from a lot of people in football, decided actually maybe this isn't for the best.
Yeah, and I hope it's the latter, Chris. But do you know what gets me? And you know, it's to think of this six and the big six, and you know, somebody even said to me earlier the traditional big six, and I just think traditional big six. I mean, where do you go back in terms of history? Because until Man City had money, what were they in terms of a football club? They were a championship club. You know, they came up and they went down really quickly. There were never a club that stayed in the Premier League long, and there were never a club that traditionally challenged for the top 6, let alone the top 4. When's the last time Spurs won anything? Okay, they've been in the Champions League a few times. You know, they've been in a Champions League final, but they lost it. You know, you didn't win it, so what does it matter?
You'd be looking at 2008 for Spurs for the Carling Cup.
Arsenal, as you said, they're 9th in the league. They've been on a downward trajectory for ages. Chelsea, okay, yes, better than Man City, but until they got money, they weren't really challenging for titles at all in the Premier League, you know. Whereas you look at your more traditional bigger teams, you know, your Aston Villas, you know, who won trophies for ages and have probably spent more time in the top 6 of the Premier League than somebody like Spurs, because Spurs have only come into it as well, probably in the 2000s, whereas Villa traditionally were a really good Premier League side. So where do you get this idea of this traditional big 6? It just so happens that maybe the last few seasons, those are the 6 that have been in there the most.
Yeah, seems to be that way. Let's look further afield then, and the other European sides, because this is going to have, if it goes ahead, a massive impact, of course, because you're looking at, you know, potentially La Liga without the absolute pinnacle of the 2 biggest clubs in Spain, plus Atletico Madrid, who are no small club anymore. And then in Italy, you know, AC, Inter Milan, and Juventus. And AC Milan are one of those clubs that until this season, they're currently 2nd in Serie A. They've been struggling to make the top 4 for the last, nearly a decade almost. Yeah,
they've really struggled at AC Milan. You know, so again, it's just people are going for the names. That's all it is. And it's the owners at the end of the day too. It's the owners, and a lot of these clubs, more around the English ones, but a lot of them have American owners or Chinese, Eastern owners who don't really care about the fans and the football and the tradition around football in the country that it's in. You know, and Americans in particular, they have this warped view in my mind around competition, because they never have promotions and relegations in the league. They literally have one thing, and that's the championship. And what is the point? What is the point? If you are a team and you start this elite league, this European Super League season poorly, what's the point of playing the rest of the games? You know, you've got no risk of finishing bottom, and you can't win it. So what's the point? You know.
This is the thing. As you say, and to be fair, Kate has asked that question. You know, what happens if a team? Well, they don't get relegated ultimately. If they do really badly, they just finish bottom of the league. They don't get relegated. They don't go anywhere. But they're also not in their domestic country's league either.
Yeah, exactly. And you won't ever get those moments, you know, those amazing moments of teams coming from nowhere and doing amazingly. You know, your Blackburns winning the league. I know they had money then, but they won the league. The Leicesters winning the league. You know, you won't get those moments where Wolves come up and they do amazing and they finish, you know, in the European places. Burnley have finished in the European places when they've done really well. You know, you won't get those moments. And again, and then you won't get the risk of relegation and the fight and that will of your players to produce on that regular basis.
This is the other thing will be, I mean, UEFA aren't going to drop the Champions League. Whether or not these big clubs break off to form a Super League, are UEFA going to continue the Champions League anyway? I suspect they will. So it'll just be really the different clubs that will get the chance in the traditional Champions League.
Yeah, and you would hope it would help those clubs progress. Yeah, but I can see Kate's clarified a question, which was if they get relegated from the Premier League, for example, which, you know, we can only hope as a punishment, you know, they decide to relegate Man United from the Premier League this season. That'd be fantastic. Not just them, obviously, but just as an example. But the idea, Kate, is that they wouldn't get out of this elite league because it's a closed competition. And it's just that elite league, and it's just those players those teams that are going to be in that European Super League if they get permission to do it, which is just ridiculous. You know, you could be playing terribly all season, you could do awful, but you're still in this competition where you get insane amount of money. I think the figures being banded around were somewhere between the $5 and $6 billion. You know, are the amount of money going to be shared between these teams, which is absolutely ridiculous.
And as well. It's not going to be a case of being in the Premier League and this European Super League, because ultimately the Premier League as an authority aren't going to give the permission to those clubs to be in both. It will be an either-or decision if it were to ever go ahead. So they would be not only withdrawing themselves out of the Premier League, but basically, effectively, out of the English football pyramid. Because I can't, you know, there's so much riding on it. Because if it didn't work out, and if the money dried up and they weren't that into it, then ultimately, I can't imagine the Premier League would be particularly keen to be like, yeah, you come on back to us, you know, with your tail between your legs sort of thing. Yeah,
and as I said to you before we went live, Chris, my only hope is as well that the federations, FIFA, for example, come together and say, well, you know what, if any players decide to go and play for those teams in this league, if it happens, hopefully it doesn't, then they're banned from any of our competitions, including the World Cup, the Euros, everything like that. Because then the players obviously wouldn't want to go to those teams, because that's the whole idea of this is money. We'll get the big players in. People will buy our shirts. They'll want to watch more because of these big players. Well, if your pinnacle of a career is playing in the World Cup final for your country and you can't do it because you're going to go to Man United in a European Super League, then you're not going to go. It's good to see that Kyle's back, though. I've just seen his face pop up. Always a delight.
I've had to make a slight change. I'm currently sat on the floor in my daughter's bedroom because that's where the phone line comes into the house and plugged straight into the mains.
Fantastic.
Well, the good news is it's working a treat. You are now at least crystal clear and we can hear you. You're not breaking up and lagging behind. So that's something.
Commitment to the cause, Kyle.
But what I will say is watch this. Kate, I know you're watching. Can I have a drink, please? And one will appear shortly.
At least, you know, either that or it'll appear over your head. If I were her, I think that would be the better plan.
Yeah, but Chris, it will still appear. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I get to drink it.
I suspect, Kyle, that you may end up kind of going over some of the ground that we've covered already. However, with a bit more of an aggressive, angry tone.
But more aggressively. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I mean,
I've just seen Kate.
Yeah, I've just seen Kate's response in the comment, but we're not going to read that one out. Put it that way.
What does it say, lads?
It begins with an F and ends in an off.
Thanks, darling. Love you.
Kyle, you know, we were all messaging the WhatsApp group when we saw Gary Neville kind of.
I feel I was the most aggressive out of a lot of us.
Yeah, it was a very passionate kind of, you know, speech almost that he had. Your take on it?
My take on this, look, this is what's driven me to drink. No, there's an issue with this whole thing, and I think I posted it on my own Facebook, and I think Chris, you shared it. So the one argument I've seen
like as this is a good thing for football, which it's not, by the way. And if you think it is, you really need to go and follow a different sport.
You're not a football fan.
Correct. I think he's. I think I commented on my brother's Facebook page. Hello, Harry. Saying something along the lines of, if you don't agree with what Gary Neville was saying, irrelevant of the reasons he was saying it, if you think he was backed by Sky Sports to say it, if he was saying it off his own back, blah, 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 then you're not a football fan. Go and follow rugby. Don't want you. Don't need you. Go and be an egg chaser. I don't care. Now, my thing with this whole scenario is, it is, as you said, I heard Mike say money, money, money. That's what it is. Ultimately, it's just going to kill. It's not going to kill the game. It's going to kill. It's going to kill the Premier League as we know it. Technically, not a bad thing, because those top 6 teams monopolise it anyway. You know, that's why we all love Leicester when they won the league.
Yeah,
because they aren't one of the top 6. Spurs. Honestly, you could chuck them in a barrel of tits and they come out sucking the thumb. Useless, absolutely useless. Right? They're pointless. How they're a top 6 side, I don't know. They've finished there a few times. Got a Champions League final. Ooh. Arsenal. Get rid of them. Like, genuinely, what's the point? It's just the only argument. And he says, this is a question that I pose. Is this the same way that people felt when the Premier League formed in '92? I can't answer that. You two can't answer that. I was not 2 year old. You two were just over 2. And
Yeah.
as competent as we may be as adults, cats, other things, we can't answer that. We're too young. But surely, as you say, the thing with the immediate counter argument is, but the Premier League still allows new entrants. You can still get into it. You know, I just honestly, it's like, what is the point? What is the point? Oh, yeah, have you got away with this weekend? Oh, I'm going to PSG away. What 8-year-old fan can afford to go to that with a dad? I'm not saying the 8-year-old pays in any scenario, by the way, but as a fan, you can't then go to your away games. No. You can't then, as a 30-year-old fan that has a season ticket for 15, 20 years, I've been going on with my dad because of this. I've got into this club because of that. It will kill local supporters for that team. Man United, probably not so much of an issue, but it will. That's the thing. It's like if Burnley were in it, never obviously going to happen. But if Burnley were in it, I'd go and watch Colne. Go and watch Barlick.
Yeah,
I ain't want to watch Burnley go and play PSG every week.
Well,
maybe for the first year, not for any time after that. Balls to them.
It's funny that you make that point about that. You go down to your local non-league clubs kind of thing to support them if you're assigned there, because one of the comments I've had from somebody who goes to Guiseley quite regularly, but he's also a Liverpool fan, is that I think a league means you can travel away if you wish. Personally, I like the National League North for trips to Vauxhall Motors on North Ferriby. Seems much more plausible than even going to Torquay or Boreham Wood. He also says, as a Liverpool fan, I'm disappointed that we've put our name to this proposal. Whilst I accept this is about positioning ahead of a new TV contract, I think that it is ill-timed, particularly after the last 12 months.
Correct.
Definitely. But again, as you said there, Kyle, this is more about these clubs going from the fan-supported working men's clubs as they traditionally have been, as I can't remember who said it. I think it was probably Gary Neville in his great, we'll call it a rant, said about Liverpool that they see themselves as the people's club. Manchester United came up as a working men's club. Most football clubs come from working men's areas, industrial areas, coal mining areas, and that's what they were there for. They were for working men. And this is going to make those 6 clubs tourist attractions, where the only people who can go and see them, especially away, is the rich. Probably the season tickets will go ridiculously high, and it's just frustrating and annoying that this has come out. In fact, it's not annoying. It's frustrating. It's making me angry. And as I said to Chris when you weren't there, Kyle, if they said suddenly Premier League said, well, do you know what? Screw you, you're all going to get relegated this season. I would be up in arms because it would mean Newcastle weren't, obviously, but it would also be fantastic.
Well, let's look at a couple of comments. Go on, Kyle.
I was going to say on that point about like the your season tickets, all that sort of stuff. As you say, the local man going. He said that all dies off. That's gone. No one wants that. When are they going to play these games? Are they going to play them on Saturday, Sunday? Because Chris, I heard you clock on earlier about it's going to have to replace the Premier League for those clubs, which it is. So, is it going to be Saturday, Sundays? Is it who's going to show the games? Who's going to watch the games? Who's going to go to the games? All those questions are up in arms. Blah blah blah. But there was another thing as well, which I think Mike said something along the lines of, or Chris, you might be asking Mike about it when I was sort of trying to join at some point, which was about Newcastle challenging for titles. Right. Well, take those clubs out of it. Take those 6 clubs out of it. You've got your Leicester, Everton. This season you've got West Ham that are up there. But are any fans of those teams genuinely going to be like, oh, we've won the Premier League, but we've not beat any of the big clubs to get it? Yeah. What's the point?
That's the thing.
That's like me absolutely hammering a 9-year-old at table tennis and going, get in! I've absolutely smashed it. But they can't see over the other end of the table.
I believe, you would do that, Kyle.
Well, I would absolutely dominate. Honestly, I would win that game.
and 2, I think Harry has made a comment, about, could we end up developing though a new? I mean, it may be turmoil, as he said, for a few seasons, but could we end up developing a new Big 6, potentially Big 8, Big 10? Hopefully a bit more competition within the Premier League. And as Gary Neville said, having that bit more of a, somebody looking at it and making sure that clubs aren't going to monopolise it going forward, but having an open competition. But some of those clubs, whether it be the ones that are up there now, but giving them a chance to develop more into bigger clubs and create a new big, however many clubs culture within the Premier League and within English football.
I mean, you would hope that it would level the playing field for those remaining clubs, wouldn't you? You'd hope that if they did bring in kind of a new authority to basically just to keep an eye on everything and the way that things are run financially, that it would actually level that playing field and make it more competitive for the rest. However, you can't guarantee that would be the way it would go. You can't guarantee that the Premier League would get the sponsorship, the amount of income, the TV rights money that they get now, without those 6 clubs that are talking about leaving to this European Super League.
I don't know. Newcastle Burnley's always on the telly, so something.
They usually put it on instead of CBeebies bedtime because it gets the kids to sleep quicker.
I mean, going back to the sides that are involved in it, Paul makes a comment. I mean, it's a bit of a dig, really. He says, my concern is that with Arsenal, what are they joining us for? I thought it was for big teams.
Correct.
You make a point.
It's a good point. It's a good point. You've not been a big team for years. You just spend loads of money on people. Oh, Mesut Ozil, you got 350 grand a week to wear Big 6. You're crap. You're crap. You've not won up for years. You won an FA Cup because Giroud.
That's why you left on a free. That is why you left on a free.
I had this argument as well, Kyle. You look at them this season, and I said obviously about the traditional and how Man City are only a big club because they've got money. They were always rubbish before that. I could look back.
I'm not going to have Emil and Penza described as rubbish, Mike.
You can look back further and see clubs that were in the Champions League probably for longer spells than the likes of Arsenal. Well, maybe not Arsenal, but the likes of Spurs. Man City. But Arsenal now, they're a rubbish team. They're a rubbish team. You'd rather have Leicester. Leicester, who are a good team and with a good manager.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you ask the entire fans in English football of right, pick your top 6 clubs that you want to represent England in a Super League. Let's say it was a one-off event and you wanted an English team to win it and you had to pick 6 teams from England to do it. Arsenal would be nowhere near. No one's going to go.
Spurs would be no.
Arsenal
have Harry Kane. Spurs would be absolutely.
On it, yeah. Take Kane and Son out of that team. Oh yeah, I'm gonna pick the positive Spurs. Not happening. Not happening. Honestly, this is what makes it ludicrous. Arsenal are still living off Wenger. Man United not so much living off Fergie in terms of at least they've won a bit since they've gone. I know Arteta won an FA Cup and Unai Emery said good evening and all that sort of stuff, but like they're living off the past. You know, like people used to take the mick out of Liverpool fans. Oh, you're just all in the past, this and the other. They were racking up Champions Leagues like they were going out of fashion. They were like winning League Cups, FA Cups, the old Europa or UEFA Cup as well. Like, 5 trophies one season under Houllier. They were winning stuff. They were still a massive team. And now you've got Arsenal who win an FA Cup one every 3 years. And like, oh, yeah, we're big. You're not. Honestly, I had a triple flusher earlier that's bigger than you lot. Sod off. I'm done. I'm so done. It's just ridiculous. Just get in the bin. Go. Big six, my ass.
I think that might just about sum it up the overriding feeling that we have amongst it regarding this. The disappointing thing so far is that we were hoping that this letter was going to be out by now, that the 6 Premier League clubs had signed with whatever they had to say basically about the situation. That was due at 9:30, and here we are, nearly 50 minutes later, and it's still not been released in the press. Gary Neville may have hit the nail on the head, though. Again,
they're all rewriting it.
They'll be rewriting that because they'll have seen that the response and be desperately rewriting it and backtracking like you've never believed. But it is so it's disappointing that hasn't come out for us to actually be able to talk about that as yet. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the coming days. Of course, the existing Champions League, they were going to be releasing plans tomorrow for a new revamped Champions League with 36 teams in it, which was basically their idea to try and counteract this Super League plan and make it more of a refreshing competition. So we'll have to see what comes tomorrow from UEFA on that front.
Fuming. Absolutely fuming. It's a bloody joke.
It is. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And I mean, the new Champions League, for all we know, might be an amazing concept. So it's honestly, they've got these owners who have made this decision, whoever it is at these clubs, have got absolutely zero integrity, and they care absolutely nothing about their fans. Nothing at all.
On that, Harry sent me something earlier, which was for this, and then I have system issues, and now my phone's downstairs. But it effectively released 6 names of who signed what for what clubs. But they weren't all 6 English teams. So you had Kroenke from Arsenal, which is about as much of a surprise as it is that, these birth, taxes and death in life, that's what you get. And then you had Ed Woodward from United, again, not a shock. Juve, someone from Juve on there. Liverpool, John Henry.
Yeah.
Was on it. Yeah. And then a couple of others. I think Florentino Perez.
One of those would have been Florentino Perez, who apparently would be basically chair of this whole Super League thing as well.
Oh, well. Oh, let's get started again then, shall we? Oh, honestly. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
It is, and I think we've got a sort of a comment there from Nick, which Wearmouth, which kind of sums it up there to say he was priced out of a season ticket 5 years ago at Manchester United. He's a Manchester United fan, and he got the odd game ticket, which was £45, and then obviously paying for the new shirt every season for £60, and just showing that these teams have got enough money as it is. I mean, they're in ridiculous amount of debt somehow, but they've still got enough money, as it is. And they'll just go.
The thing as well is, they've brought all this stuff in terms of financial fair play. Like he said, obviously City got around it the other year by, but our sponsors increased the sponsorship mid-season or whatever they did. And you're like, yeah, but your sponsors are also owned by the same people that own the club, so that seems a little bit suspect. But it is what it is. But the thing is, you get clubs that earn success over a period of time. As I said earlier, Liverpool have done it. Man United have done it. They've earned that success. They've earned that money. They've earned the right to spend. They've earned the right to get these big sponsorship deals, etc., etc., etc. You get Man City, who have rigged the system in theory to get that money. But you kind of put up with that because you think, right, it's not their fault. They can either exploit the system or they've been good enough for a period of time to then demand this thing. Whether it's right or wrong for that period, that product that they're supplying, that's what they're demanding. You're like, right, okay, that's fine. I can put up with that. But then then they rock up and go, you're rich, I'm rich, they're rich. Should we all get together and make a little rich boys club? Good, isn't it? Let's have some more money because we ain't going up. Shove it up your ass wipes.
I mean, it's bad when even Boris Johnson has got on board with commenting on this, and his very simple plans for European Super League will be very damaging for football, and that we support the football authorities in taking action, says Boris Johnson.
I've not seen that comment on our feed. Chris, is he watching?
Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister.
They're playing blue.
It's bad when either Bojo makes a fair point.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Oh man, it's just ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous, and it's just people looking after their own. I think he says a comment just come in now about like Bayern and PSG not being part of it, and
they're not backing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think someone said, were you in the chat that said not yet? And like
no,
PSG...
it's not that it's not yet. I know for a fact that Bayern have come out and said that they're not standing by it, and I think PSG have said that they're not as well.
Good, excellent. That's good because, PSG again. I'm not really having them because they've got suspect funding. Bayern are a bit different. They've been a big club for my entire life and long before. They're as like Gary Neville was saying earlier. They're a true club. Like when you look at like the old United and Liverpool, you think, oh, they're the people's clubs. Like I was saying earlier, German football's geared for the people. It's just all is geared for the people. And for Bayern to come out, who are basically people say, oh, they just nick all at best players, blah, 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 blah. Effectively, until Rangers have won the title this year, like Celtic, but in Germany. Like, yeah, but what they're doing the right thing. Like, it's the right thing to do. And quite frankly, the fact that you would have a European Super League that wouldn't feature Bayern Munich, but would have Spurs or Arsenal.
It's not a Super League.
As our friend Ashley Peters would say, get in the sea.
Paul's just said there as well, can you list the English teams which signed again? So just to go through the teams, and we'll go through all of them. So out of England, it's Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs. Arsenal. Yeah, sorry, I keep forgetting about them because
they're like holes, not null. Holes.
Out of Italy, you've got the two Milan clubs, AC and Inter, and then Juventus. And then from Spain, you've got Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Atletico Madrid as well.
So after you look at those clubs, really, how many teams are they wanting to get into this properly? My understanding was it was around the 20 mark to make it a proper league rather than just some kind of Anglo-Italian, Spanish dozen. So they're going to be relying on other clubs, though, that are actually wanting to necessarily take part in this. And the fact, though, that Bayern Munich, and to be fair, the German model perhaps doesn't suit this because, of course, is it 50 plus 1% own a fan owned in Germany in the German model of the game. So there's perhaps not that ambition for it being all about money in Germany. And as I say, PSG in France, who you would think we're all over a bit of dollar, aren't wanting to take part. So they're going to be coming up short when it comes to looking for other European giants to join the Super League.
You say giants?
I did.
That's the thing. That's it. Where they're going to fill it.
Well, the fact, like you say, that they've asked Arsenal and Spurs to join in itself is ridiculous. So it shows how desperate they are.
Yeah,
Look,
neither of you two have done anything in Europe in about 40 years. Do you fancy having a go? Yes,
look,
please.
we're making absolutely no friends in North London tonight, so let's.
Listen, I've got family in North London. That like some of my family are Spurs fans, and quite frankly, if they back this decision, I'm not bothered. Balls to them.
I don't think anybody.
Balls to him. Balls to him. I'm not bothered. Shove it up though. Honestly, I can't. I just can't get across how annoying this whole situation is.
I think you're putting it across very, very well, Kyle.
Thank you. Good. I'm
You
trying my
know,
best.
Kyle, I can't tell.
It's just bollocks, isn't it? It's absolute bollocks.
Let's start rounding up then, really, and then look into the future. I mean, not a great deal has come out yet from the 6 English clubs. Tomorrow we await the Champions League and UEFA's new proposal for the existing Champions League format. And as it is, it seems that the FA, the Italian FA, and the Spanish FA, along with UEFA, are all saying, no, we're not having this. But is it going to come to a point where money talks and those clubs will decide to walk away? Are Manchester City and United and the likes going to walk away from Premier League football to take part in this? Because, as I said earlier, I can't see, if they left, are they really going to come back? Are the FA going to let them come back with the tail between the legs in 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, when they decide, actually, this hasn't really worked out quite like they wanted it to?
They can come back in the lowest level, Northwest Counties division.
I will tell you, for now, absolutely 100%, if they went away and it went full Setanta Sports and it all absolutely bombed on them.
That is a great analogy.
Thank you. That the Premier League would welcome them back with open arms.
They would, wouldn't they?
Immediately. Absolutely immediately, because any league with Man United and Man City playing each other, Man United and Arsenal playing each other, Man United and Liverpool playing each other, Liverpool and Everton, like the Merseyside derby, the North London derby, any league with all those games in it is a better league, and that is what sells the current product. And without disparaging my own team, without disparaging Mike's team, as you mentioned earlier, Burnley, Newcastle, I don't imagine them watching many of that in the Southeast Asian region. I don't think the Premier League sells as much with John Joe Selvey and Ashley Westwood going head to head.
It's like Voldemort v Harry Potter. Everybody
it would be. If Ashley Westwood could wear glasses whilst playing, that's a great thing. I would absolutely love that to happen next season when we're both still in the Premier League. But I think this is the thing. They know, the clubs know, and like Gary Neville said today, the clubs know they hold all the power. They hold all the power. But it's like when Ferrari tried to bin it from F1 and that all got stopped. It won't happen because they don't have, there's not enough. Those 6 clubs cannot create a league on their own. Playing Juventus twice a season isn't going to sustain that club. The reason why it works at the minute is because it's a rarity. You think, I wonder if we're going to get so-and-so this year. I wonder if we're going to, like Mike said earlier, I was just joining at the time, I think, for maybe the 3rd or 4th or 5th time. But it's like, it's a rarity. Are we going to play Juventus this year? Are we going to play AC Milan this year? We're going to play Real this year. I'd like to get one over on Real from when they did us 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I mean, I come to a game, Newcastle beat Burnley last weekend. I'm not thinking next season, I can't wait till fixtures come out until we get to go to St. James's and do them over. Ooh, possibly because we won't win, but more because it doesn't really matter because we've got 38 games to do it in.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I think that sums it up quite nicely. Big thank you to Kyle and to Mike for joining us, for joining me here on our first Facebook Live discussion. And I feel like there may be more heated discussions to come over various footballing topics over the coming days, weeks, and months, especially if things do go ahead with this European Super League. Don't forget, you can give us a follow on Facebook if you haven't already do so. Please share it with friends and family as well. We'd love to get more comments and views. Big thank you to everyone as well that has shared your comments tonight for us. It's been much appreciated. And also, give us a like on Twitter as well, at Lost the Dressing Room. Our next video, we'll have another bet slip on the way as well. Not that we're doing particularly well with those, but, you know, we'll keep it going till the end of the season. And then we'll be bringing you another feature video before long on our YouTube channel as well. That is also just searching for Lost the Dressing Room. For myself, Chris, from Kyle and Mike, big thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.